Hello everyone, my name is Dara Carranza and I am interning over at St. Vincent de Paul in the Resource Center. Their mission statement is the Society of St. Vincent de Paul is dedicated to feeding, clothing, housing, and healing individuals and families in our community who have nowhere else to turn for help. As important, St. Vincent de Paul provides meaningful opportunities for volunteers to serve their neighbors in need with love and compassion. The mission over at the Diana Bruce Halley Center for Hope and Healing, which is where we have our resource center and our transitional shelter, is meeting the needs of those experiencing or at risk of homelessness with sanctuary, respite, and connection to resources. And their vision is an inclusive community where faith, service, and kindness heal suffering. Our target population at St. Vincent de Paul is really anyone who is in need of any of our services. That can include low-income or homeless individuals and families. So anyone can really just walk in the door. We don't know who's going to walk in the door, but all of our services are open to anyone. This is kind of like an overview of the programs and services that we offer at St. Vincent de Paul. And you can see our four main categories or targets, which is feeding, clothing, housing, and healing, and everything underneath that. Our programs and services over at the Resource Center are these listed. We're mainly a day services for the homeless kind of facility, but we provide showers and hygiene products, clothing, sack lunches, gas cards and bus passes, ID vouchers, utility assistance, traveler's aid, legal aid. We have a DES agent on site, and miracle messages. And due to limited funding, we have had to cut down on gas cards, bus passes, and ID vouchers. So we only have about, 2 bus cards that we can give out per day. 4 to 5 maybe ID vouchers per day, and bus pass kind of varies as well. And for utility assistance, also due to funding, we are only helping with Southwest gas and utility deposits at the moment. And Miracle Messages is a sort of program that helps people, our homeless population, reach out to try to reunify with a family member as a way to sort of than their homelessness, and that was something that was assigned to me, so hopefully I can get working on that a little bit more after the coronavirus, because we're not completely shut down, but we are very limited to what we can do. So right now we are only providing showers and hygiene products, clothing, and sack lunches. Everything else is kind of on hold other than utility assistance and legal aid. They are able to speak to someone on the phone for that, but hopefully this all goes away very soon and we can continue to provide all of our services. And as far as staffing goes, 90% of our workforce are volunteers. We have about almost 300 employees now, but every job is very position specific, so you don't necessarily need a degree for a lot of the jobs that we have. But over at the Resource Center, we only have about 8 to 10 employees, and everyone else is a volunteer. So we have my supervisor who has an MSW and we have our attorney, and we have Linda, who has a bachelor's in healthcare administration. And for example, as you can see in the pictures, over at the medical and dental clinic, we do have like retired dentists and retired doctors who also go there and volunteer. So, yeah. For the structure of St. Vincent, it is a nonprofit, Catholic-based organization, and I feel like that those Catholic teachings are very present in the way that we provide services, so it definitely influences that. Just like helping others in need, really. So, and then tasks are assigned based on job and skill set, as I mentioned before in the previous slide. So, this is kind of an overview of the organization and who's in charge of what. At the very top, you can see our Vincentians are up there, which they are trained volunteers who are mostly retired and older, and just kind of dedicate their time to this organization. And they live in different conferences, which are in different Catholic churches around Arizona. And the president of like the 12 districts is Steve Atwood. And so then after that, it goes down into like each department. But it is very different just because like from the start, it's run by volunteers. So my supervisor is Sherilyn Strong over here with Special Ministries, and so kind of branching off from her, she's over here at the top. This is for the Resource Center, and we, as I mentioned, we only have a few staff members, and then I would be down there over volunteers. That keeps getting in the way, but over here in volunteers, that's where the interns are at, and the Vincentians and everyone else is a volunteer as well. And we are in need of a case manager, so she would be up here. He or she, or they. This is a little overview of our 2019 revenue. So it was about $54 million. And this is kind of like how it was spent over here. Which half of it went to food, so thought that was pretty interesting. Isms. The Society of St. Vincent has this, what they call the rule, which is the society promotes understanding, cooperation, and mutual love among people of different cultures, religions, ethnic origins, and social groups, and so contributes to the peace and unity of all people. And as far as the building that I'm at, it is fairly new. It was built in 2018, I believe, and it is fairly accessible. Like, it has ramps, railings, and the buttons for the automatic doors. And something else that I noticed too is really I'm the only Spanish speaker there at the Resource Center and over at the family evening meal across the street. There's me and maybe one other person who like kind of speaks Spanish but is like not really there all the time. So I am the only Spanish speaker there, which can make it very hard for a lot of our guests. So, as far as the culture, I feel like it is very welcoming and helpful and supportive. Like, when I reached out to a few people for help on some like school assignments that relate to the agency, like they were all willing to help and answer questions, and when I first started there, we were on a tour and we were introduced to the different people in charge, and we kind of got a tour of the whole campus. And even when I started my internship too, like my supervisor introduced me to everyone in the resource center and showed me around, and everyone was very respectful, it's very inclusive. During lunch, I sit with my supervisor or with other interns or with volunteers. Everyone just kind of like sits and makes conversation with anyone. So I feel like it's a really awesome place to be. I really enjoy being there. Yeah, I love it there. For information and privacy, over at the resource center, we use HMIS, which is like a confidential portal thing that we use for intakes and stuff like that. The utility assistance program uses a different portal, and I think they keep information for up to 7 years, and it's just to kind of keep track of how many households we help. But everything is kept in locked cabinets and like in offices. The offices are locked as well. And certain people have like limited access to computer files as well. The only thing that I kind of noticed was, since we are run by volunteers and we have like different people here and there, and like they are able to see our guests' information on HMIS. So that was kind of like a tricky thing, but that I felt like wasn't very confidential. But other than that, I feel like they're doing a good job. And this is kind of like, if you don't know what HMIS is, it's kind of like a training profile that we created, Testerson. But as you can see, we have our client information here. And then this is kind of what a clothing assessment would look like. And each item is different, so we are limited on things sometimes. So, like belts, you can get one every 90 days, bras one every 21 days, so it kind of varies. Socks and underwear, I think now are like one every 7 days or one every 3 days. But yeah, so that's kind of what that looks like. Evaluation services, we use HMIS to collect information and all of that. We have had a few surveys. We did get the Listen for Good grant, which was like this huge survey of, and we were able to get a lot of feedback from our guests. And here are the results. These are posted kind of like around the campus, so it shows like what we could improve by, what we're good at, what kind of changes you want. So it's all on here, all of the results and the changes that were made. Role in relationship to the community. We have so many partnerships. Like, this list is not even like half of it probably. We have so many different partnerships around the community. The ones that are bolded are the ones that we mostly work with at the resource center. And they come here and provide the services to our guests. So that's pretty awesome that they're able to do that. One of our employees helps with providing Nexalone trainings, and we just provide the opportunity for others to serve and give back. So, also something important that I feel like we do for the community is our urban farm. I feel like I have to give them a shout out since I'm so into like sustainability and all that. But our farm at the main campus, they grow a lot of our food that we use to cook the meals for families and our other dining rooms. And last year they diverted over 300,000 pounds of food waste from going into our landfills, which was, I think, is amazing. So I just had to give them a quick shout out on that, which I just think it's awesome. And this is kind of like by the numbers here. So here it is, our farm. This is Taylor, who is our main person over there. And yeah, food boxes, meals, 2.6 meals served. And moving on to organizational change. Change takes time in general, but because we have so many volunteers involved in our operations, it can sometimes take us a while to for the education process, I guess. And there is kind of no kind of step by step. I feel like they all kind of talk about it as a team during their Department of Operations and Management meetings. But it's really like up, down, and across. Like nobody's really like do this, do this, do this. You know, they kind of all just kind of talk about it, and it kind of goes from there. So there's definitely room for improvement in that area. Like maybe have a more like organized system so that things can actually like progress towards change more quickly. Maybe, I don't know, I could be wrong, but it is important that we have that ability to continue to adapt to those changes that are needed by the public so that we can be more successful in the way that we serve them. So but as long as like something I would do would definitely be hire a social worker over at the resource center, just so that we are able to make a bigger impact on our guests instead of just like kind of sending them out and then like, you know, maybe they are not even able to get to a different place that is able to help them. So like we can just help them there, and I don't know, I feel like it would make a bigger impact if we had someone there following up with them and like encouraging them to do this and that. And also I think more surveys. I feel like we only had that big survey and we haven't really had anything since then. But I feel like the needs of our community are constantly changing, so like we need to keep up with that. And also outreach. I feel like more people should know about us and everything that we offer, because it's St. Vincent is really like a great place and we have so many different things that we can help people with, but they just don't really know about us. So doing some outreach would be absolutely incredible. Professional learning. I feel like I have been learning a lot about different resources that I didn't know about before. Just because we constantly have to like refer our guests to other places since we're so limited on like our services. So I have been learning, like we have a whole resource binder and that has different stuff for housing or for traveling, literally any type of resource. So I feel like I've just been learning a lot of resources, which is awesome. How to manage tough situations. A lot of our guests do get frustrated because we're not always able to help them with the services that they need. So they do get like a little, the situation escalates pretty quickly sometimes. So I feel like my supervisor and the other intern have kind of like, we've talked about it and they tell me like we don't really know the whole situation, like everything that they're going through. So we have to like be able to understand that and like empathize, which is something that I've been working with as well, like in like learning how to do better. but we don't really know their whole situation, so like understanding that they, they're frustrated, but there's only so much we can do, so I feel like managing that kind of situation has definitely been a learning experience for me. And yeah, do you guys have any questions?